He looks like the guy next door, a Navy vet, a husband, a hard worker. But behind that smile is a predator hiding in plain sight. And it all comes crashing down when he picks the wrong girl. What dark secrets is Richard Evonitz hiding? I'm Chris. Let's recap. Cara Robinson isn't the one he wants on that June morning in 2002. Richard Marc Evonitz already has another girl in mind. He's been stalking her for weeks, watching her, jotting down her routine, waiting for the right moment. But today, that girl isn't home. So he goes hunting, driving up and down the quiet streets of Lexington, South Carolina in his mother's green Pontiac Firebird, searching for a new victim. That's when he sees her. 15 years old, watering flowers alone outside a friend's house. He drives by once, then circles back and pulls right into the driveway. Cara walks over, thinking he's someone her friend's mom knows. He doesn't look like a threat. At 38, Richard Evonitz just looks normal. He steps out of the car with a handful of magazines, says he's handing them out around the neighborhood, asks if her parents are home. She says no. That's when everything changes. He suddenly pulls out a gun, presses it to her neck, and tells her she won't get hurt as long as she does what he says. He forces her into the back seat, shoves her into a big plastic storage container, snaps the lid shut, and drives off. He's done this before and gotten away with it. Cara's about to change all that. She's already in survival mode, memorizing everything, the songs on the radio, the turns the car makes, every detail she can. She repeats a mantra in her head. Stay calm, gather information, escape. He drives her to his small apartment about 10 miles away. His 19-year-old wife and his mother are at Walt Disney World for the week. And Richard, he's off work. No one's looking for him. He has all the time in the world. Meanwhile, back at the house, Cara's friend realizes something's wrong. She's just gone, vanished from the yard without a sound. Cara's parents call police right away, desperate for help, but instead of launching a search, officers write it off. They list her as a runaway. Meanwhile, inside Richard's apartment, she knows she has to play it smart. She figures if she goes along with what he says, maybe, just maybe, she can survive. So she talks to him. She helps clean his messy apartment. She asks questions, and she notices everything. The Navy memorabilia, the magnets on his fridge with the names of his doctor and dentist, the layout of the apartment, the pets, birds and guinea pig in smelly cages, the locks on the doors, the way out. Richard keeps Cara close, trying to control every move. He shackles her to the bed with furry handcuffs he made stronger with wire, ties her ankle to the frame with rope. He even makes her watch the evening news, waiting to see if the world knows she's missing. And all the while, Richard has no idea his so-called perfect plan is starting to crack. Hours tick by, the night drags on, and finally, he falls asleep, snoring beside her. This is it. Cara knows it's now or never. Slowly, carefully, she gets to work. She uses her tongue, her teeth, anything she can to loosen the D-ring on the headboard. Bit by bit, she frees her hands. Then she unties the rope from her ankle. Heart pounding, she slips out of bed. Barefoot, silent, she moves through the apartment. She unlocks the door and runs. Outside, she spots two men in a parking lot. She begs for help. They don't hesitate. They get her in the car and drive her straight to the police. And just like that, Cara Robinson does what no one else could. She escapes the monster and helps bring him down. But Richard, he's already on the move. He grabs his gun, his most twisted pornography, and whatever evidence he can. He empties his bank account, fills his Viagra prescription, and stops at Walmart to buy a TV VCR so he can watch his porn. Then he hits the road, heading south to Florida, thinking he's one step ahead. 2 days later, he calls his sister and tells her something chilling. He's committed more crimes than he can even remember. He asks her to meet him at an IHOP, but instead of meeting him, she calls police. Cops close in fast. Richard leads them on a wild chase, 120 miles an hour, no headlights, driving the wrong way, and when they finally corner him, he takes his own life. On the surface, he seems like the kind of guy no one would suspect. A quiet salesman, a husband, a brother, the loyal son next door. Neighbors said he was polite, kept to himself. Sure, the women he worked with called him creepy, but nothing that would make anyone think serial killer. He knew how to hide in plain sight. But behind closed doors, Richard's world was a whole different story. His life revolved around control, obsession, and a porn addiction so extreme it shocked investigators. When police finally searched his apartment, they found it stuffed with tapes, hundreds of them. He even made his own highlight reels, splicing together his favorite moments, and loop tapes that played the same twisted scenes over and over. One of those tapes sent chills through the FBI. It was a recording of a spring break concert on TV. A teenage girl in a swimsuit walked across the stage, introduced herself at the mic. Richard was fixated. He looped that moment again and again. Agents actually tracked her down just to make sure she was still breathing. She was. Richard's story started in Columbia, South Carolina. Born and raised there, after high school, he joined the Navy. On paper, he looked like a success. He earned medals, got promoted, left with an honorable discharge. But at home, the cracks were always there. He grew up with a father who drank too much and tore him down. A mother who smothered him and covered for him. Both parents were openly cheating on each other. It was the perfect storm of dysfunction. By 13, he was already making obscene phone calls. By 15, he was breaking into houses. And at 16, the FBI says he was molesting his own sister. But you wouldn't know it by looking at his record. He had just one conviction. 1988 in Florida, he exposed himself to a teenage girl and her toddler sister. He confessed, told police he couldn't help himself, that when the urge hit, he'd drive around looking for a young, short, brunette girl. And after that, nothing. No arrests, no charges. No one knew what he really was. Until Cara Robinson escaped and ended up exposing a serial killer. Inside his apartment, investigators find a hidden lockbox, the key to solving 3 of Virginia's most haunting cold cases. Inside it are newspaper clippings, handwritten notes, underwear, and other evidence pointing to Sofia Silva and the Lisk sisters. Sofia, just 16, vanished in 1996 while doing homework on her porch. When her sister came out, all she found was a grape soda and Sofia's notebook. Weeks later, her naked body turned up in a creek. Then, less than a year later, Kristin and Kati Lisk, 15 and 12. The sisters disappeared right out of their front yard after school. A massive search led nowhere until 5 days later when their bodies were found in the river. For years, police chased thousands of leads until the cases went cold. But now, Richard's lockbox holds the answers. The forensics tell the rest of the story. Hairs from his apartment, fibers from his fuzzy blue handcuffs, carpet fibers, all matching what was found on the murdered girls. And then, the shocker. Kristin Lisk's palm print found inside Richard's trunk, still there years after she disappeared. But Cara's story was just beginning. After escaping a serial killer, she worked alongside law enforcement, helping on cases and supporting victims while finishing school. She later became a police officer, handling everything from school safety to some of the toughest investigations. Today, she's a mom, a motivational speaker, and the voice behind the Survivor's Guide to True Crime podcast. Her story even inspired a Lifetime movie, The Girl Who Escaped. We know she's the only survivor, but do you think there are other victims out there? Crimes Richard Evonitz took to his grave? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and as always, thank you for watching All the Crime in Half the Time. I'm Chris. Amy and I are here 3 times a week with new recaps. Remember to like and subscribe so you never miss a story. Until next time, take care.